Thanks to the EA Creator Network for providing early access to this pack, and also this build is not the final version, so there may be some bugs and things that change in the public edition. Hi guys! So I'm very excited because today I have a very special video with early access to the new Sims 4 Enchanted by Nature expansion pack. So EA was actually kind enough to provide an early access code to me to be able to try this out, and I've managed to fit in about 100 hours of gameplay to show you guys. So there is a lot to cover, and I'm going to be going through absolutely everything, including the world overview, all the gameplay features alongside build, buy, and CAS. And at the very end, I'll be giving all of my thoughts and my entire review pretty much of the pack. And I'll also be giving each section a rating out of 10 to show you guys basically how it compares to the other packs and how I feel pretty much if the pack is worth buying. Also, as a quick heads up, I don't usually play with the cults in my regular day-to-day gameplay, so this pack is not necessarily focused towards me. So if you really enjoy supernatural gameplay, this pack might be the one for you, but just keep it in mind that I might feel a little bit differently about it. Let's go ahead and jump right in because we have loads of things to cover. Okay, so first of all is the world overview, and the new world that we get with this pack is called Innisgreen, and I have to say this world is absolutely stunning. It's split into 3 neighborhoods and each one has a really different vibe. So let me take you through all of them and tell you what stands out about each one. So the first is the coast of Admore, and this is pretty much the seaside village area, and this is probably the most picturesque part of Innisgreen. It's a seaside village with super bright colors and it's beautiful, and I could very much see all of my whimsical Sims living here. There are also 4 lots in total, a museum, 2 towny homes and a starter house, and they're all surrounded by colourful coastal buildings and set dressings. There's also a fish store called Captain's Quarters, and your Sims can go here and buy and sell fish, and this also backs onto a fishing lake that has a shipwreck with a POI board, and if you click it, your Sims will actually get a little notebook entry about the site, which is actually a new feature that you'll see throughout the world. It's like pretty much the Sims journal their discoveries and they keep it so that you can look back on it, which I thought was a really nice feature. Behind the museum, you'll find a gnome statue, and that can actually give your Sims bad or good luck, which is a whole part of a new luck system added to the pack, but I'll cover that more a bit later. There's also a gnome stall, and it's run by Glenn Gnome, and yes, he is a full-on gnome enthusiast. And you can also order food here and buy gnomes to collect. And behind his stall is a grocery store, and it's pretty much exactly the same as the one from the horse ranch pack, where you can just stock up on supplies. In this part of the world, you'll also find public toilets, a set of swings and some grills, and also a fable board where you can actually keep track of the fablists in the world, which are pretty much the NPCs and townies that you can go and talk to, and you can get fables from them, which are pretty much like quests, like the cottage living errand system, but again, I'll cover that a little bit more later. And there's also an apothecary table that you can use behind one of the buildings as well. I kind of imagine that it was an apothecary store, but obviously because most of this part of the world is set dressing, the store isn't actually functional. So to be fair, most of this world is set dressing, which again is just, it's a little bit disappointing, I won't lie, but it does look amazing. It's very immersive, and there are quite a lot of objects and things for your Sims to interact with, which I like. But again, it's kind of a similar thing that we have with other packs where a lot of buildings are just for looks and you can't actually do anything with them. So the second neighborhood is Spruce Dairy Grove, and this is the most open and off the grid part of the map. There are 5 lots here, and it includes a bar, a park, a towny house, a starter house, and there's also a huge empty lot, which I feel like would be perfect for Rags to Riches gameplay with the new natural living system, which again, we'll cover later in the video. The bar in this neighborhood is absolutely stunning. It's genuinely one of my favorite pre-built lots in the entire game. The inside is gorgeous, and it really gives like forest meets upscale nature lodge. There's also a tree stump in this neighborhood, and you can interact with it to summon Spruce Almighty. Yes, that is his actual name. And he's romanceable and woohooable, although sadly, I don't think he can get you pregnant because I couldn't actually try for a baby with him every single time I tried. So that is unfortunate because that man's genetics would be insane, let me tell you. Spruce can also give your Sim a fable task to solve a bunch of riddles, which also adds some fun chaos. And again, he's one of the fablists included on the fable board. There's also a live plant and gardening supply shop. There's a lake that your Sims can bathe in. There's also a mushroom circle, which I think you can use to summon Mother Nature. However, I never even got to that fable even after 100 hours of playing this pack. And there's also a used bookstore. And while the garden shop and the used bookstore are actually rabbit holes, I personally don't mind it. Honestly, I would rather these rabbit hole lots and shops than set dressing everywhere like in the other neighborhood. At least there are places for your Sims to go and interact and, you know, like actually go in and do something with, instead of just these pretty looking houses that have no one living in them and they're purely just for aesthetics. And to be fair, for me, it just feels like a bit of wasted space in the world. The park in this neighborhood is also really cute, and there's a little community garden. There's also a stand called Todd's Apothecary Cures and Elixirs, where you can shop for various magical items. And honestly, this neighborhood out of all three, I feel like is the most usable out of all of them for any gameplay, not even if you're particularly looking to play with the occults as well. So lastly is the final neighborhood, and it's called Everdew, and it's pretty much like Fairy Central. I have to admit, this neighborhood is just absolutely gorgeous. There are 5 lots here. One of them is a lounge, which again is absolutely incredible. Probably one of my favorite lots that I've ever seen in The Sims. I have to say the build buy in this pack is doing work. There's also another off the grid lot. There's a starter house, and there's also 2 townie homes in this world. So at the center of this area, there's a fairy hub, which is pretty much a community lot that you can use to go to the toilet or learn how to become a fairy, or even if your Sim does become a fairy, they can stop off there and get their daily ration of fairy dust. In this part of the world, there's also the Moondrop Springs, which is pretty much a stunning lake where your Sims can bask in emotions or even bottle them up. And yeah, it's definitely giving mystical therapist. In this neighborhood, you'll also find an aura blossom, which you can use to harvest for petals. There's also a teleport stone, and this also needs fairy dust to be able to use. And the most iconic lot of all of them is the lot inside of a tree trunk, which, let me tell you, this lot might be the most beautiful lot that we've ever had in The Sims. So in this part of the world, there's also a little fairy home where fairies can go inside and use this, which I'll cover a little bit more about that later. But it's kind of like the communal fairy home in this part of the world, so that all the fairies can use it. There is another apothecary table and a grill. Also in this area, there's another new plant called the Moody Shrub, and this can actually change your Sim's emotions, alongside a few fairy dust collectibles lying around the world, which your Sims can pick up and use. Again, I'll cover a little bit more about fairy dust later. So my only complaint about this part of the neighborhood is that there's not really that much to do in this area, especially in comparison to the others. If your Sim is a fairy, obviously they can go and use the main central hub. They could go use the little fairy house, and if they need to, they can go to the plants. But other than that, I kind of felt like this area was just beautiful, but I don't know, I just didn't really have a reason to go outside of my Sim's house that often. And also in this area, other than the central hub, there's no other rabbit holes, whereas all the other neighborhoods, they all had their own rabbit hole to go into, like the grocery store or the stall or the bookstore or something, you know, so there was actually places to go and things to look at, whereas I felt like this particular one didn't have it. So overall, I thought Innisgreen was absolutely beautiful, especially visually, and to be honest, it's probably one of our better worlds that we've got in The Sims. Although there is a lot of set dressing, I will say, and I would always be the one to say I would rather have more lots than set dressing. I do understand that there are limitations and why they're there, especially for people with slower or older computers, so I do understand that there's a reason that we get a certain amount of lots, but I do really like the idea that all of these new neighborhoods are going to have rabbit holes, so at least there's a use for your Sims to go out of their home and to go have a look around the neighborhood and use items. That is like a big thing, especially, and this world has loads of little like parks and grills and places for your, you know, kids to go on the swings and things separately to like actual park lots, which gives your Sims a reason to go around town, which I really like. So let's talk about fairies, and this is probably the main focus of the pack. So your Sims can actually research how to become a fairy either by reading books, which you can do at the museum. You can also chat with locals in Innisgreen, or you can actually talk to fairies directly, which I quite love, that you're not just handed the occult status. You don't just go and ask someone and finally you're a fairy. There's some sort of like gameplay or lore to how you become a fairy, which is nice. So you'll need to get your hands on a fairy seedling, which sometimes really nice fairies will give your Sim one, but also if you didn't manage to get given one, you can also buy them as well. And once you plant it, Mother Nature herself appears, and she can bless your Sim with Mother Nature's charm, which then unlocks the ability for your Sims to transform into a fairy. So to fully complete the process, your Sim has to bathe in Moondrop Springs, which is that pretty mystical lake that's in Everdew, and the animation for this was absolutely incredible. The music, the sound effects, like the the, like, I don't know, the visuals. I mean, you can see it. It's just absolutely beautiful. I was really impressed with this part. And once transformed, your Sims pretty much become a full fairy and get access to a fairy form, which they can either show off or they can keep hidden. So you can actually have them conceal their fairy form and take it away if you want to do some sort of lore where they don't actually show to anybody that they're a fairy. And let's also talk about the wings for a second, because oh my god, you can either stick to the ones that Mother Nature gives you, or you can open up CAS, and there's so many options to choose from. You can even manually paint the wings if you're into that. They are absolutely beautiful. This is one of the things that I think they really outdid in the pack. There's so many options of wings. You can even go the whole actor vibes, have your Sim have horns, have these kind of like demonic sized wings. All the wings also, they're different sizes. You've got like really small ones, medium ones, large ones. They did a really good job with all the wings. So fairies gain a new need called emotional force, and this also replaces hunger and bladder. So it drains passively, but it also drains even faster if you use your fairy powers. And if you run out completely, your Sim will die of emotional starvation. So yeah, just do yourself a favor and just don't ignore it. To recharge fairies' emotional force, you've got a few different options. You can absorb it from other Sims, and through that you can also get some really weird mood effects. You can also use fairy dust, or my personal favorite is that you can go to a fairy home, and these are the things that I was talking about earlier, which are pretty much magical dwellings that fairies can regenerate in. They can also sleep in there, they can take a bath, they can also host dance parties, which, let me tell you, the music absolute bops. Every time my Sim was going in there, I was just like shaking it down with them. It's like, that's like the best part, like the best part of the pack. I'm taking that one. I do wish there was an option to woohoo in the fairy homes though, because it feels like it would be like the perfect spot to be able to do it. However, we do get a new fairy woohoo, and it's called Woohoo in the Sky, and it is really sweet. So both Sims shrink down to tiny little fairies, and they pretty much go inside of this like mystical, flirty heart mid-air. And this interaction also works between fairies and non-occult. So if a fairy has a human or like a regular Sim, they can do it, but also two fairies together can also do their woohoo in the sky. So fairies also have this massive ability tree with 5 levels and 4 different branches. They have the emotional branch, nature, manipulation, and customization. And the last one unlocks specific interactions tied to being either good or mysterious. And it's not actually tied to the aspiration that we get with the pack, because we actually get 2 new aspirations, and one of them specifically focused on becoming a fairy. So the new fairy aspiration that we get is called Fairy Stories, and when your Sim completes this aspiration, they receive a reward called Into the Everdew, which pretty much gives them bonus fairy XP and makes fairy activities more fun. And from here, they'll have the opportunity to either decide on which path they want to go on. Your fairies can either choose a harmonious or a discordant path, which unlocks an extended aspiration based on their alignment, which focuses either being on a good or mischievous fairy. It's a really fun addition if you'd like long-term occult gameplay with different branching goals, specifically for each side of the fairy sort of trees that you want to focus on. One detail that I really loved is that the fairies actually fly differently depending on their moods. So happy Sims zip around gracefully and they kind of just do this whole little bob thing. Angry or sad fairies kind of drag through the air. And pregnant fairies have a unique animation too, and they hold the bottom of their bellies while they're flying. And I thought this particular animation was really cute. So I do like the fact that the fairies aren't just like copy pasted, they all look the same when they're flying around, which is nice. Fairies also have this new animation where they can zip across the map instantly, and it's pretty much similar to how vampires can fly as a bat anywhere, and it's really convenient for when you're not in the mood to want to watch your Sim fly all the way over from one side of the neighborhood to another. You can just have them instantly teleport there basically. There's also loads of fairy specific social interactions like talking about their wing colors or flying, and they can also interact differently with the non-occults too, so it adds a nice flavor of conversation to make them feel more mystical and unique and different to the other occults. So of course, fairies can have children, and their babies are called fae babies. So if both parents are fairies, the baby gets a high fae lineage trait, and this helps them gain fairy XP faster. They also get a custom fairy bassinet, and their needs decay slower. You can even feed the fairy babies an emotional potion, and that will boost their mood. So instead of feeding them usual milk or breastfeeding them, you can actually feed them an emotional potion, which will affect them. Sadly, and I was so disappointed by this, infants, toddlers, and children don't get any visible wings or powers, and they technically count as fairies, but you won't see anything happen really until they become teens. I wish they'd at least have given the infants or the toddlers little wings, and they gradually like sized up with them as they get older. Even just 1 or 2 options of wings would have been really nice. Just think about how cute it would have been for the infants, or even the toddlers specifically, to have these tiny little wings growing in, and then as they become a child they get a little bit bigger. I was like, that was such a missed opportunity. They didn't even have to fly. Like, even if the wings weren't like flyable yet, you know, they were just there, I feel like that just could have been really nice. Or even a sparkle, just fucking something really to show that they were fairies. So kids and toddlers do at least have some gameplay effects. They learn some skills faster, and their hunger and bladder decay slower. Plus, they might also get an emotional struggles moodlet, and that makes them break things around them when they're overwhelmed. You can have an older fairy teach them emotional regulation, which I did think was a really cute sort of family moment, and it's good for like legacy occult gameplay as well. So adult and elder fairies get a longer lifespan, and their fun and social needs decay faster, and they can also learn the natural living skill a lot quicker than a regular sim. And with this new pack, there's also 2 fairy specific deaths too. You have the emotional starvation and emotional overload. So starvation is what happens when your fairies run out of emotional force, but I found this really hard to trigger. I actually had to turn off autonomy and basically just leave my game running for a good like 30 minutes to have them die, because I did find that the fairies, they normally recharge themselves. So if you leave them for even 2 seconds, they'll just randomly recharge, which I don't even know where it came from. Maybe my sim was autonomously using the fairy dust in her inventory, but randomly the need would just go up. I do have to say though, the fairies also have a new gravestone, and this was just absolutely beautiful. It might be the best gravestone out of all of the like sims that we have in the game, all the occults as well. I thought it was just incredible. So the other death, which is emotional overload, this happens when your fairy absorbs too many strong emotions from other sims, and it can escalate from minor to major to critical. And if you ignore it, they pretty much just die of an emotional meltdown, and it will depend on the type of moodlet that they've absorbed too much of. It's dramatic, chaotic, and it's also very fun to experiment with. So another major addition of this pack is the natural living skill, and honestly I found this was a really fun mechanism if you like rags to riches gameplay, or really anything off the grid related. Maybe you just want to have your sims not own a house and you just want them to sort of, you know, start from scratch. It fits really well into this pack, surprisingly, and I thought it was really well integrated, because when I heard of a fairies pack, I was thinking, what are they going to do here? Like, how are they going to make fairies an entire expansion pack? But I feel like they have done a good job with integrating a lot of additional features that are not just specifically fairies. So sims can start building this skill by foraging on the ground, and you can pretty much click anywhere on the grass and your sim will rummage around and find all sorts of things. They can find flowers, herbs, ingredients, and even furniture, which my sim did actually find a sofa, and it was really expensive, so I sold that shit right away. And sometimes they might even get a stink bug, which are disgusting. They make your sims reek, so you have to go take a shower immediately afterwards. The natural living skill basically lets your sim survive in nature without relying on any traditional needs. So they can sleep on the ground, they can bathe in lakes, they can also have a sponge bath in public restrooms or at the fairy hub. And also your sims can now eat harvestables, and they also gain more fun and hunger than usual. So it's really good for off-the-grid players who don't want to rely on the usual sort of constraints of where a sim has to have a toilet to be able to go to the toilet, or they have to have a shower. At least now sims can basically receive all their needs in nature. So as your sim levels up, they unlock new abilities. At level 2, they can summon a privy bush to pee anywhere, which is... By level 5, they can eat frogs and also raw fish, and they also unlock the ability to talk to nature to fill their social needs. You don't even have to have a second sim living with them. They can literally be this loner who lives by themselves and just fulfills every need that they have off of nature pretty much. And I did really love how accessible this skill was. Even child sims can start building it, so at least, you know, kids aren't getting left out of everything in this pack. Okay, so let's talk about potions and healing, because the Apothecary skill and the Naturopath career are a huge part of this pack. So you can build the Apothecary skill by using the Apothecary table, where your sim can grind ingredients and start crafting things like elixirs, emotional potions, and cures for ailments, which is also a new system within the game. There's also an option to study the skill directly at the table to level it up, which I also do really appreciate. You can buy ingredients from the table itself, yourself, or you can go to Todd's store. But honestly, foraging for them felt way more on brand, so definitely recommend foraging for them on the ground instead. As your sim improves, you'll unlock more recipes, and some of them can be really useful for curing the ailments, whilst others are purely just vibes like mood boosting potions. And you can sell what you make too, so it does work really well for herbalist sims or off the grid sims as well. Now with the Naturopath career, I felt this one was a little bit of a mixed bag. So it's kind of like the get to work doctor career, except focused on holistic healing. So you get clients with ailments and your sim has to ask them questions to try and narrow down what's wrong. And the interactions can be quite varied, like asking for their symptoms or suggest they forage for food, or even get them to do push-ups or get them to let out their inner roar or something. So the goals are shown in the top left, so you know what kind of questions to ask. But the thing is, the list of potential diagnoses only narrow down gradually, and to get to just one correct ailment, you have to go through every single interaction every time, and honestly, it was just tedious. The ailments and cures for each client are different every time, but the process doesn't change, and sometimes the interactions just didn't go off, or the client walked away just mid-question, so you kind of just stuck clicking everything again, and it did get really frustrating really quick. So you can do this career from home, or you can go to work like normal, or take clients in your house, which I thought was a nice option, but honestly, it got repetitive really fast. So after like 2 clients, I was already clicking through the same 10 dialogue options, and I was losing interest. I really love the concept, and I do think it fit really well with the world and the theme of this pack, but in practice it was just boring and repetitive. So one nice detail was that if your sim successfully helped another sim using a potion or a cure, they could actually get a sweet sentiment called Healing Helper, where the patient would adore your sim for helping them. And it was small, but it made the process feel really rewarding, like the sim would actually appreciate your help. And one other thing was, if your fairy sim, which I had in particular, if your fairy sim had taken the ability to be able to cure sims with ailments, you'd also be able to use this interaction instead of actually having to make the elixir to cure the ailment yourself. Okay, so let's talk small and chaotic. So we have enchanted gnomes, garden magic, and also the luck system. So first up, gnomes. You can enchant gnomes to help out around the house, and they'll do things like cleaning, gardening, or repairing broken objects, and they're super handy until they're not anymore. So if you rely on them too much or you over enchant them, they can get mad, like angry little chihuahua level mad, and they start breaking everything in your home and causing total chaos. In my sim's home, everything was broken. There was so much stuff on the floor. It was awful, really. And also, when they do help out, they tend to spend like 5,000 seed packets all over your lot. Like, I don't know if this was a bug or if it was intentional, but I got rare seeds like the death flowers and the plant sim fruit. So I wasn't mad about it because they sold for a lot of money and my sim became rich, like literally overnight. But it was a mess, and I had to click on every seed packet to open them to get rid of them. So I'd rather they don't spawn 50 million seeds. So now let's move on to gardening enchantments, where any of the sims, including your fairies, can use fairy dust to enchant the garden. So once enchanted, the plants will be auto-watered, weed-free, and also protected from bugs. And if you have seasons, they'll also grow out of season 2, which I think is amazing. However, when I'm playing with this version of the game, I don't have access to any other expansion pack, so I can't really test that cross-play compatibility. So the catch to this is it might attract pixies. Pixies aren't really dangerous, and they're actually kind of cute, but they do block your sim from interacting with the plants unless you shoo them away. And the only annoying part that I found was that you had to shoo them one plant at a time, which got really tedious if you had a massive garden, like, well, my sim didn't have a massive garden, but a larger garden, and you had to go up to every single plant that had a pixie on it and shoo them to go away, which is just annoying. And finally, we're going to cover the luck system, and this one actually surprised me, but I do really like it. So every day your sim wakes up with either good luck, ordinary luck, or bad luck, and it can affect a bunch of things they're doing in gameplay. Your luck can also be influenced by external events, like if you interact with the right sims. Spruce Almighty himself can also grant your sim good luck if you ask him, I guess if he's feeling in a generous mood. So there's some things that luck can influence are cooking results, foraging finds, crafting success, career performance, and even things like starting fires or finding rare collectibles. So I felt that it was subtle, but it was impactful enough that I definitely noticed that it was impacting my game. You'll also get a little notification in the top right to let you know if luck has influenced something that your sim has done. So I had it multiple times when my sim was making food. They made a better quality food. They were crafting something. They made a better quality craft. So it will let you know how luck has impacted your sim's lives. So another feature that I didn't actually expect to love as much as I did was the Fables system. And these are kind of like cottage living errands, but they're way more whimsical. And you'll see a Fable board in the world where you can check for NPCs called Fablists. And these basically offer you mini quests. So some of them are item delivery tasks and others you have to solve using riddles or exploring the world. Also, side note, if you're using neighborhood stories, do yourself a favor, and if a Fabulist asks to change their job, do not click yes, okay? I made this mistake, and it basically makes the game spawn a replacement to that NPC. So you get some random sim who turns up, they don't fit the vibes. It just ruined the whole Fabulist system for me, and I actually stopped doing the Fables after someone else replaced the main NPC. So just don't do what I did, okay? So I actually found the Fables really charming, and they added a bit of storytelling and lore to the world, so it gave it a little bit more depth. And the rewards are actually pretty decent, so you can get like skill books, potions, collectibles, money, and one task even involved talking to Spruce Almighty, which of course was very dramatic, and he constantly spoke about how he wanted to get back with Mother Nature, whilst in the same breath woohooing with my sim in the sky. So he needs to decide what he wants, by the way. You can also enchant items like candles or art using fairy dust at the Nature Press, which is a new item that we're getting in Enchanted by Nature, and it gives the items a specific aura. And I love that it ties the crafting and the magic in together. And it's also a win for family gameplay because children can also use the Nature Press along with obviously teens and up. So at least our children got included in one thing. There's also a notebook system, and it's getting a subtle glow up, so our sims can automatically track the new discoveries like the local lore or plant finding or the fairy interactions in their notebook. And I thought it was a really good touch for any players who want to like keep track of their lore that they've discovered in the world. And also with this pack, we're getting a new base game update, and this adds a new collectibles UI menu directly inside the notebook, which makes tracking collectibles much better, easier to see. And I honestly felt that it was really easy to find and just go back and track how far I was into the collection. Oh, and also let's not forget there are new traits and aspirations in this pack, and the traits come with custom interactions that show up in the pie menu with their own little icon. So you can actually see that they're custom interactions that come with that sim specific traits. So my sim had the mystical and the plant lover traits, and they had loads of unique social interactions tied with that, and it made trait choice also feel much more meaningful. So all of these systems pulled together, I felt like made Innisgreen a really unique world, and actually gave the world a lot of lore where I was interested in really finding out more about the NPCs and finding out more about the world in general and why things were the way they were, which I think is a really nice touch because it makes it feel like your sims are joining in on a story that's already existing and you're not having to write it yourself pretty much. Another new system that we're getting in the pack is balance and imbalance. So sims can either be balanced, imbalanced, or they can be neutral. And this setting actually influences how often they'll experience ailments, mood swings, and other mystical consequences. So a balanced sim will have more stable emotions, they'll have fewer ailments, and just an easier time navigating life. And an imbalanced sim is much more volatile, they'll likely attract more chaos, they'll have emotional outbursts, they're more likely to fall victim to magical misfires, and of course they're more likely to get more ailments. So one thing that I love is that you can actually choose whether you want to play with this system. There is an option to turn it off in the game options, along with the luck system and also limiting fairies to specifically to Innisgreen, so that if you don't want fairies to be in any other world, you can also stop that as well. And that way, if you don't want to be bothered by the ailment system, if you're not actually playing in Innisgreen, you don't have to be bothered with it, which I really love because it keeps everything very separate. You can enjoy it if you're playing with that side of the pack. If you're not, you can just turn it off. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the gameplay portion of this pack. And honestly, I thought there was a lot of really good successes in this pack. There was a lot of features that were really expanded on, that they did a really good job with. But I feel like when you dig a little bit deeper, the cracks do start to show. Some of the standout features for me were personally the whole fairy system. The fairy tree was really, really in depth. I also loved the aspiration that you get with the fairy system as well. That is really fun. I also love the new additions to gardening, which obviously you kind of expect with an Enchanted by Nature, alongside the new natural living skill, which basically allows your sims to live off the grid completely, which I know I'll personally be using really often when I do my Rags to Riches gameplay. But there are definitely some features that I feel really let this pack down, in my opinion. One of them being the new career. It was just really boring and repetitive. I didn't think it helped that it was also a bit buggy, which, bear in mind, the version of the pack that I'm using, it's not the final version that everybody else receives, so it might just be bugs that are in my version and they're not going to be in the final version. But I really did find it was just infuriating. Some of the interactions wouldn't go off. The fact that you had to ask every single question every single time to like know for sure what the ailment was that they had. I just thought it was like the get to work doctor's career, but worse. It was just really boring, and it got to the point where every single time my sim would have to go to work, I would just give them paid time off because I just didn't want them to work anymore. And I also do really want to say one of the biggest letdowns for me in this pack is the continued lack of energy or gameplay for children or below. Now, don't get me wrong, I feel like this pack actually did more than other packs previously. I've had more to say about other packs because admittedly, with the whole fairy system, at least, you know, children and toddlers, at least they have something. If they're a fairy, that something might happen to them. There is some sort of, there's one gameplay aspect pretty much that you can see that they're a fairy. But I do really think it's all a bit placebo. It's all a bit, oh, you know, this need that you probably won't notice is changing because they're a fairy. It's the fact that visually, you don't know that pretty much anywhere from child below, you would never even know that that sim is a fairy unless you looked in their traits panel. There's nothing really in their appearance that signifies that they're a fairy, which I thought was really sad. Again, as I was explaining earlier, it's such a missed opportunity to not give child and developing sims growing wings, even if the wings don't flap and they don't float and they don't have new animations, because I get why they do it. The reason why is because they don't want to make new animations for fairies and all the fairy related animations for every new life stage, because teen to elders, they all share the same animations because they're the same height. But obviously children, toddlers, infants and babies will all have their own animations separately. So for me, it just feels like lack of time and also lack of energy and effort. I thought it was just sad, honestly, that the kids miss out on all those features. I did like the fact that the children can interact with the nature press, so at least they do get some new gameplay features, and also the children can start building their natural living skill as well. Children and anywhere below just miss out on so many additional interactions and gameplay. So despite all of that, I actually had a really good time with this pack. Honestly, about 95% of my time playing with this pack was in the gameplay, and I did have a really good time. It did really scratch that mystical, cozy fantasy vibe, and it also, if you're a fantasy sims player, I do really think you'd like this pack. But again, there will be some takeaways that I feel like you'll miss, similarly to me. Right, so let's move on to the next portion of the video, which is my creator sim review. So we're going through all of the hairs for our females first of all, and honestly, the hairs, I must say, I was most impressed with out of all of the items in this pack for CAS. And I'll give you a little disclaimer now, I didn't really rate CAS in this pack at all. But honestly, the hairs I feel like were a standout point. This hair in particular that you're looking at, that bun, is absolutely to die for. My favorite hairstyle that we've had in such a long time. And I also do love the fact that we got more options for textured hair too as well. It's not just simply straight hair. We have various different options for afro textured, for curly. We also have a few different straight options. Even this one has got a slightly balding scalp as well, which is giving like Lord of the Rings elf vibes with this hair. So with this pack, we also got some additional accessories as well. You can see me going through these. These are all the options in the hats. We've got horns, we've got flower crowns, some various different sort of like braided headband and sort of random things. I'm just hoping these items are not going to randomly apply to townies, which I'm not going to lie, actually a lot of random townies were already generated in this pack when I was playing, and I did already see a lot of them, quite unfortunately. So having a look, we got quite a few different accessories as well. So we got this necklace with the key on it, and we also got some items that I feel like work really well with fairies. Again, we also got the most amazing makeup with this pack as well. You can see me going through that. And the tops I thought were nice. Honestly, this sweater, beautiful. This jacket again, as I said, there's some standout items, but I think overall my takeaway from the pack in terms of CAS is just that it didn't really hit like other CAS items. So these jeans, super usable, loved them, obsessed with them. We've also got this petal skirt, which kind of matches to the top to go together. And again, with this CAS, there's loads of items specifically for fairies, I felt like. So you can see a lot of them are very, I guess, not everyday usable. There's a lot of items that are usable as well. Like a lot of the skirts, they have swatches that would go with the fairy items, but also they have swatches that work normally as well. So full body for women, these were the standout items for me, because look at some of these dresses. I thought they were absolutely insane. I thought they were beautiful. I thought the colors of them were lovely. I thought they were really usable. There were so many items that honestly I would use here, even just not in my fairy gameplay. I would use it, you know, if my sim was a gardener, or I'd use it for them to go out for dinner or something. So I did like the fact that the full body, there was many options that I am still going to use even as a non-occult player. Is giving very Tinkerbell, and you could also use these items for Halloween if you play at Halloween with seasons in your Sims as well. So that also does work. And you can see there's also some other items here. I just unlocked them with a cheat because these are unlocked through gameplay, and these are 3 different items that you get if you complete the new career that comes with the pack as well. So obviously these are locked to begin with, but you can unlock them through gameplay as well. So we're having a look at some of the shoes. We got these cute little gladiator sandals, these boots, these really awful shoes, and also the hooves as well. I did see that we got some hooves. This arm cuff was beautiful. I love the little arm cuff that we get. We did also get some nice gloves, and these gloves also have rips in them, and they kind of go specifically for this outfit. We got some sweet little socks, and a new feature that we're getting, not specifically in this pack, but in the base game, we're getting body highlight, which is not really a standout thing of this pack. It was kind of just a base game thing. So now we're moving on to the men, and I don't really know what to tell you about the men. Honestly, I thought the women, I thought they were okay. Like I would say that the women were like a 7, but the men, some of the hairs. Okay, one thing to take away, what I really did like, the hairs are not sitting 1,000 miles up from their forehead. So it's not making every Sim's forehead look like a 5 head. We do also get some additional beards, and the ones with the flowers in it, really, really pretty. A lot of the items that the men get are similar to the women's, like for the hairs and things, and obviously all the accessories are exactly the same. The men do get some additional items. They also get access to some of the feminine tops as well. One thing that I did find, you see when I'm going through them now, the men get access to these hoodies and these just general sort of tops. I don't know why they didn't make these for women, because these would have worked so well in the women's category too. I feel like if you're already making them and you've already got the mesh, you kind of only really need to change it a little bit just to have it fit a female frame. And I thought it was a little bit disappointing that the men would get these really nice, like, usable tops and hoodies, and the women didn't get access to them. So that was a little bit sad that they also didn't get access to those. But I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. As you can see, I'm going through a lot of the items for this pack, the CAS items. They're specifically for fairies or the apothecary career and things. And there are some other usable items for someone like me who's like a, you know, realistic gameplay. But at the very least, there's going to be more options for your fairies. But yeah, I must say that this pack, specifically for CAS, didn't scream at me. I thought it was good. I just thought it was just good and not like, wow, so incredible. You know, it was just good. And I thought these were great as well. So the men also get specific items themed to them. They also get access to a lot of the same shoes as well. So now we're moving on to the children, and the children get access to almost every single hair that the adults got access to as well. And in terms of the outfits, they got access to this one top, which has a fake pair of fairy wings. So that's probably about as fucking close as I'm going to get to children having wings in The Sims 4. They also got access to these 2 really nice full bodies. I feel like full bodies outfits, especially in the new expansions, they never really let me down. Like, they always do a good job with full bodies. And for the boys, they also get access to some additional tops as well, the same top as the girls, and that was it. So moving on to toddlers, they got access to 2 different tops and a new hat. They got access to a few full body outfits, and it was the same across the girls and the boys. They got access to the exact same items. No new shoes, nothing else. And the infants also get access to the same little tulip hat and also 2 new full body items as well. So now we're moving on to the most exciting part of CAS, which is the new fairy wings. And I must say, EA did not disappoint with the fairy wings. They are so customizable. There's so many different options. Not only the size of them, the shape of them, the colors of them, how transparent they are. Some of the wings also work really well for if you want to make more like demon styled Sims and not necessarily fairies. You want to make more like, I guess, maybe dark fairies or demons. I don't know. Some of them are also butterfly wings as well. So I thought those were really nice. The colors on all the wings, you can see at the top, they're all completely customizable. So they come in default swatches and you can then change those colors. And you can even then go in from there and paint every wing manually as well. So I thought that was really impressive. And the men also get access to, I think, almost the same amount of wings as the women. I don't know if it was exactly the same or they were missing a few. But again, you can see that they fit their frame really well. We also got access to some new tattoos, and the new tattoos actually were really pretty. I was impressed with the new tattoos. We don't always get them with new packs, but obviously if we're getting a fairies pack, I would very much think that we should get some tattoos with this. So these ones are really nice. A lot of them are flower related or petal. These ones kind of look like fairy-esque mystical tribal tattoos, you know, like part of a fairy cult kind of thing. So I quite like that because you can also turn them white and you can also turn the opacity of them down, and I really like that because it gives the Sims like a shimmer on their skin. There's also these as well. You can make your Sim's feet dirty. So if your Sim is really living off the lot and you want to add a tattoo, well, it's in the tattoo section, but you want to basically make it look like your Sim's feet are dirty, you can give them those tattoos on each foot. We also got this really pretty face tattoo as well. And again, the men got access to, I think, almost exactly the same. So the men got access to the exact same tattoos as the women. And now we're having a look at our traits. So we got 3 new traits. The first one is disruptive, which obviously you kind of get an idea. These Sims are disruptive, they build the mischief skill faster, and they can give a bad balance or stick it to nature by disrupting it. We also have the mystical trait, and these Sims learn the apothecary and gardening skills faster. They also can offer to grant a sacred blessing to other Sims, which increases balance for both Sims if accepted, which is also another system in the game as well that we're getting, which is a balance system. So if your Sims are imbalanced, they're more likely to get ailments. And the third trait is the plant lover trait, which I will warn you, if you put this, Sims will do that interaction every 2 seconds. They will go and pick up that plant and seductively talk to it. So with this pack, we get 2 new aspirations. We get 1 for fairies, and we also get 1 for the apothecary skill. So for fairies, it is called the Fairy Stories, and it's basically a Sim that wants to show just what kind of fairy they would be. And they also get a fairy influence trait, which means that relationship fluctuations are bigger when socializing with fairy Sims and gnomes, for better or for worse. And the apothecary aspiration is called Elixir Enthusiast, and this also just is a Sim that wants to learn everything that there is to know about the apothecary skill and craft powerful cures and elixirs from plant-based ingredients. So I just realised after halfway getting through this video that the entire time I've been saying we get 2 new aspirations, we actually get 3 new aspirations. I obviously just didn't see the third one. I obviously did when I made this CAS overview, but I didn't actually play with the third one in game, so I'm really sorry about that. And the final aspiration that I just remembered is in this pack, because clearly I didn't play with it much, is the Nature Nomad aspiration, and this is a Sim that wants to embrace the natural living, and they want to fulfill every need in the great outdoors. So pretty much a Sim that wants to like rags to riches their way through it. Okay, so now we're moving on to the build buy, which I'm not gonna lie, I think is the most standout part of this pack. So out of everything, I think the build and buy mode just absolutely blew me away. I personally am not a builder, but it was really nice that we had a lot of incredible builders for this pack come in and build custom lots for this world using all the new items. And let me tell you, they outdid themselves. The venues and all the lots that you can go to, even all the Sims houses included with this world, are incredible, and you can really get an idea of all the items that were used in this pack. There's so many different variations. I love this roof option that we can have, where you can make it look like your Sim is living in this like cute little mossy home. It's giving me very much like little Hobbit vibes, and I loved it. Personally, I can't build for shit, so you know, it's nice to see what is available. And these are all the options that we get for wallpapers, and we're also moving on to windows as well. We get 2 different variations of window shapes. We've got these like cottagey kind of styled, and again like the sort of hobbit, I don't know, like mushroomy. I'm trying to think of like how you would describe these items. I don't know. I don't know how you describe these windows. So here I've set up some little areas that work for, you know, to like basically to show off all the items that we get. So this is all the items that I feel like would work in a kitchen. We've got new bar stools. We've got an entire new kitchen set. We have the new sink. We also have these that go on the walls as well, which are just pretty much like, what do you call it? Like ivy that's built up and loads of plants that's built up the walls. We also have an entire new bathroom set with a shower, a new toilet, which is the cutest toilet in the world, by the way. We also have the cutest, I don't know if you can see it over to the left, but the most adorable. They're mushrooms, but they're actually shelving units, and you can put everything on them. We've also got a bunch of cute little lights that you can put on the floor or on the ceiling as well. So the biggest standout for this pack was definitely the bedroom set. Not only did we get a new double bed for adults, we got a new bassinet specifically for fairies. It's given to them. We've got 2 new dressers, and the dresser, one of the dressers is technically an open dresser, and you can put on like fairy looking clothing. We also got a new infant bed with a bunch of new little lights, also some artwork, and a new toddler bed. This bed is so cute and comes with this little awning to go over the top of it. How cute is that? And also look at all these toys. Like, I think out of everything, this build buy of this pack it just blew me away. I don't know what else to say. The sofas were really nice. I love all the detailing that we're starting to get over the sofas with the pillows and the throws on them, because when you compare them to a lot of the previous packs that we used to get, a lot of them are a lot more plain than these. So it was really nice to see that. Included all of the new gnomes as well in this living room set. You can see them all around. Also, the curtains that we get with this pack are really nice too. I love all the swatches, and we also get like 2 different variations that you can use, the smaller one and the bigger one. So moving on, we have an entire dining room set. Not only do we have a small dining room, so a small like singular table, we also have a larger dining room. We also have a new bar and this entire backing, which by the way, when you change it, you can change the like constellation looking appearance of the back, like a whole solar system. That was like the best part. I mean, come on, look at this. Look at that. That was like my favorite, that was my favorite item of the build buy. Love this as well. That is a little item that your Sims get when they do become fairies to kind of commemorate that. And this is also a cute little study set that we got. A lot of the items work for the apothecary skill. So we've got like the desk set and loads of little apothecary items that can go on the desk, as well as obviously the new apothecary table that you can use, which you'll see me use in the gameplay, and of course a new rug. Alongside that, we got a bunch of new benches that can go outside. We've also got a new wedding arch. Very impressed with this. This is also the fairy home, but I do hear in the pre-purchase edition of the game, we get a bunch of new fairy homes that come with that as well, so I can't show you that right here. These are all of our new houseplant options that you can see. So you can change the base of them and then add any houseplant to go in them. We also got the most beautiful new swing set. And this is a little tree stump that is by default already in the world. And you can use it to summon Spruce Almighty. So as a final verdict for Build Buy absolutely fucking slapped in this pack. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was so impressed with Build Buy in this pack. I thought it was completely stand out. In terms of everything, I thought actually Build Buy was on top. Then I kind of put it gameplay slightly underneath. And then CAS, I would probably give it like a 6, 6.5 in terms of rating. But I'm going to get onto all my ratings in 1 second. So let's go ahead and jump into my final thoughts for the pack, whether I think you should buy it, and what all of my ratings were for every single section. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap everything up. And I'm going to let you guys know how I would rate every feature included in the new pack. So first of all, we have gameplay, and I'm giving gameplay a 7 out of 10. The reason being is I love the concept of a lot of these new systems that we're getting. Overall, gameplay feels very filled out. We have a lot of new systems with the luck system, the imbalance system, obviously fairies and their massive skill tree, the natural living skill, just a bunch of different things that we get in this pack. But it feels like maybe there was so many things put in and so many like ideas and concepts that a lot of them weren't fully thought out and finished and polished. Specifically, I'm thinking of the new career. The new career was a real big letdown. I was really hoping I would have more enjoyment out of that, but I think because it was buggy and because it was just really repetitive, I just found it really boring. There was honestly some real standout parts of gameplay, but also the children and younger missing those really important core features was a big thing for me and was a reason that I gave the gameplay a lower rating. I would have even given it, you know, like a 7.5 or even an 8. I do feel like because anywhere from children and below miss out on the entire system really of being a fairy, I just thought it was just a missed opportunity and I really couldn't give it anything higher. So for replayability, I'm probably going to give this a 6.5. The replayability of this pack I think is good. I would like to play with fairies again. I would really like to do something with being a mischievous fairy because I really focused on the sort of good, all the good sides of being a fairy, and I would like to go through all the bad sides. And there are a lot of aspirations, obviously 3 aspirations, but I don't really like aspirations now are becoming a tutorial into systems of the game and not really what they were intended for, which was more so an aspiration of a sim, like a life goal for them. I mean, your life goal isn't to like make 3 elixirs, you know, like I feel like your life goal should be to become the best, most renowned apothecary in the world. You know, that would be an aspiration, less so of make 3 elixirs or cure 2 people, you know, instead of it being really sort of set numbers. And I do feel like probably once you've played through this pack maybe once or twice with all the features, I personally will get bored and I won't come back to these systems. The luck system I really like because it will be integrated into usual gameplay, but more specifically, the fairy system, I won't play with. I will play with maybe a handful of times and I won't play with it again because I personally don't enjoy occult gameplay, but that is specifically focused to me and I'm a realistic simmer. So if you're the same as me, maybe you'll find the same thing. If you're not and you enjoy fantasy gameplay, then maybe the replayability of this pack will be way higher for you. So for Creator Sim, I'm giving it a 6.5. I really would love to bump it up to a 7, but I really do think Creator Sim doesn't sit as high as gameplay. Gameplay is more stand out for me than Creator Sim. Creator Sim, they did an incredible job with the fairy wings. I thought they were just absolutely beautiful. But the rest of Creator Sim, other than the female hairs, so female hairs, a few dresses that I noticed, a few tops, and the fairy wings, I can't really say anything else stood out to me. I really did think a lot of the items were not like, I wouldn't look at them and think, wow, that's absolutely incredible. When I compare the Creator Sim of this pack to some other packs that have been really stand out for me, the Creator Sim of this pack isn't sitting that high. I think it is great for the style of gameplay. Obviously, you need more fairy items, you need more apothecary, more living off the grid style items, but definitely in terms of this pack in comparison to other packs, I feel like my personal usability of these items is not very high. And even for fairies, I didn't really like that many of the items that were available for fairies. Now, build by, I'm giving an 8.5 out of 10. Easily the most standout part of this pack. Builders, you're gonna eat this the fuck up, okay? I already know you're gonna go out, you're gonna make such incredible builds. The builds that I've already seen the builders make in this pack and just the base game alone was incredible. So I can't wait to see what builders do when they get access to more features and all the other packs to combine together to make some incredible builds. Honestly, builders always eat. I love the whimsical and fantasy aesthetic of all the build items. I love that we got so many variations of each item. We got so many different windows, we got so many different doors. We've also got so many different like clutter items and shelving units and an entire kitchen set, which I can say we didn't get in some of the other packs, did we? So definitely build by is a big standout for this pack. So if you're a big builder, you probably will really enjoy this pack. So as my final verdict, I am going to give the Enchanted by Nature expansion pack a 7 out of 10. So I did feel like a lot of the systems in this expansion pack didn't live up to what I was hoping, and I do feel like the replayability of them is quite low for me. Once you've done it once, you kind of don't really want to do it again. Fairies were really, really in depth, but there were a lot of systems again that were kind of not super in depth. Even some of the new systems that we've got, like the whole balance and imbalance system, I didn't really find made a huge impact on my Sims, other than the fact that they got 50 million ailments like really often when they were imbalanced. And even when they were balanced, they still got ailments really often. So I don't know if it's like a code within our version of the game so that you can see the ailments more often to fix them. But I don't know. Either way, I do find some of the systems in the pack didn't really stand out that much to me. I feel like it's a really good pick for fantasy game players, but it's not a big standout in comparison to some of the other packs that we've had, especially if you're a gamer like me. That said, I don't play occults day to day in my usual gameplay, so in general, this expansion pack isn't really even focused at me, but I do appreciate that there are quite a lot of systems in this pack that I can use, even though I'm not necessarily going to play with fairies and I'm not going to play with the whole whimsical cult side of things very often. I will certainly get a lot of use out of the other systems, even the Apothecary skill, even the Natural Living skill, even the Nature Press I'd really like to do with my kids as well. So there are quite a lot of features that I will use, even though I don't personally play with the occults. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm so sorry it was so long. And if you did, remember to go ahead and leave it a like. Also, let me know down below what you thought of the pack. Are you going to be buying the pack yourselves? Do you think there was anything that could have been improved? Are there any things that really stand out to you that you really like about this pack based on what you've seen here? I'm also really excited to get my hands on this pack with my other expansion packs and also my mods as well, because I really think I could make a fun mini series out of the Enchanted by Nature and get more gameplay out of it. I really want to see how it functions with cross-pack compatibility as well, but I want to know what you guys think, so go ahead and let me know. And also, if you're new and you really like Sims content, if you want to go ahead and subscribe, you can see more of that from me. I also live stream all the time over on Twitch and also here on YouTube as well, so if you ever want to watch my Sims live streams, you can. And also a really big thank you to EA for providing an early access copy to this pack. Just also as a disclaimer, I did not get paid to say anything about this pack. Any of my thoughts and opinions are of my own. Basically, they just give you the pack to try out early. So again, thank you very much to EA. I love you guys, and I will speak to you in my very next video. Bye guys.